We are here. Oh, I didn't turn my air conditioner off. I'm going to
Oh,
do it
no,
right
keep it
now. Hi,
on.
everybody.
All right, Zed has to go turn off the AC,
I did it.
which is a
I did it.
sacrifice, by the way,
It
because
is. It is
'tis hot.
indeed.
It's hot. It's hot here in New York. Oh, I should
That's
pull up your
right.
Twitch so I can see all the people chatting about the
Yes, you'd
things.
see the chat. See
Yeah,
the
but
people
I
in the chat.
also
Mike is here. Mike
I'm gonna
just subbed for 20 months.
What?
Yeah. I mean, we're coming
Mike.
up on 2 years, if you can believe it. I started in
When was
November
it?
of 2021.
Is it too early to say what you're gonna do for the 2-year
Oh, I
anniversary?
have not remotely thought about it. September is so far away right now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta
I get
get
that.
through a few more weeks of work before I can think about September.
Yeah. Speaking of September, just as a non sequitur as we wait for some people to show up. You know the song September by Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Yeah.
Did you know that I was to see Earth, Wind, and Fire on Saturday night here in New York City? They were playing with Lionel Richie at Madison Square Gardens, Ed.
What?
Yeah. So Emily and I were going to go and see Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire. I guess the Water Fiend did not get the memo. Otherwise, we have like a perfect quartet of Final Fantasy monsters.
Uh-huh.
Um, so we were going to go see them, and it's not because like we decided not to go to the concerts that we didn't see them. It's because they decided not to go to the concert. We get to MSG. Showtime is 7:30. It gets to be 8 o'clock. We're like, okay, well, sometimes that happens. Like it's a 30-minute delay. Like, they're like just making sure butts are in seats. 8:05, no one's on stage. And it's like, okay, this is starting to really drag on. At
That's
8:15,
wild.
at 8:15, when no one is on stage, in my heart of hearts, I know this concert's not happening. It's just not going to happen. It's not happening. Something has occurred. It's not happening. It's at 8:30 when, and like the crowd is starting to get really restless at this point. People are
Yeah.
come on. One aggro bro is like, come on, let's go. It's like, who is this aggro bro who showed up to Lionel Richie and Earth, Wind, and Fire? How did this happen? And so like there was like it was going from like the woos, and the music has like a lull, like the background music, and like people think like maybe now they're gonna come out, and then no one comes on, and a new background song comes on, and like everyone's just like oh and disappointed, and like that
Yeah.
energy was starting to shift from like excitement to like rage. Like there was like a slow cascading towards rage, and then an announcer comes on at 8:30 and everyone starts like, yeah, but I'm like, no, 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 no. You guys are all in for it. And the loudspeaker announcer says, the concert is postponed. The concert is being postponed due to inclement weather. Due to inclement weather, the concert is being postponed. Zed, you live in New York. There was a thunderstorm on Saturday night
Yeah, like
at
it
like
rained.
at like 2 between like the hours of 2 and 4 a.m. technically on Sunday. So there wasn't like inclement weather on Saturday night.
Yeah,
And
Brenna has popped in the chat to say weather question mark inside MSG.
and Lionel Richie was in Boston earlier in the day. So Lionel Richie was flying from Boston to New York and couldn't land due to inclement weather, and we couldn't find this out until 8:30, an hour after the concert's supposed to start.
If he's still in
Uh,
Boston at 7 o'clock, he's not coming.
He's not coming. He's not coming. And also, like, this reeks of dog ate his homework, right? Like, this doesn't feel real. Like, this just doesn't like Red
Like, oh,
13
I
ate my materia,
forgot.
like
Uh,
that's not real. That's not a real thing. And so concert didn't happen, and Emily and I were both like, this is crazy. And there were so many angry people. I've never
yeah.
seen so many angry boomers in one room. It was really, really insane. And it's good, I guess, to like have the answer to like the default answer of what's the worst concert you ever went to. The answer now is like, well, the one that didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
But also like I wouldn't trade the experience for the world. It was wild. It was crazy. I've never like that's all of Madison Square Garden, of packed Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
Zed. It was wild.
I have been for a concert that did happen, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of people.
It was really, really crazy. So I guess
Woof.
like it's happening tonight. It's been rescheduled for tonight. I
That's
shall not
fast.
I shall not be attending.
Ugh.
Lionel had one shot at me. Also I
Yeah,
have to
fool me
record a
once.
podcast tonight, so I can't do it. But it was crazy. It was totally nuts.
Boy, what a
Anyway,
time.
that's your pre-show Earth, Wind, and Fire story for for everybody.
It's
Lionel did
funny
show up.
because you said Lionel Richie, and my brain thought about Little Richard,
Oh, man.
because
Well, if Little
not that
Richard showed up, there would be
not that I don't know
a
who
big
Lionel
to-do.
Richie is,
Yeah.
but, on Friday, my partner and I went and saw Rock and Roll Man at New World
Okay.
Stages,
Yeah.
which is about, the DJ Alan Freed who, like, brought rock and roll to white people,
Okay. Yeah,
essentially,
yeah, yeah.
by playing colored music on white
Right.
stations in the '50s, and Little Richard plays a big role in the show as
If
he is the defendant, or he is the defender of Alan Freed in the trial of his life, against the court of public opinion. And Little Richard was quite a character. It was
if
really,
Little
really
Richard had
fun.
showed up at the concert, it would have been incredible because I believe he's
I'm
deceased.
pretty sure he's dead.
I think we lost
Yeah.
Little Richard, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I loved
wild.
Little Richard. Loved
Oh,
Little Richard.
man.
Brave Little
Good
Toaster has a
golly.
very
Miss
important,
Molly.
music number in Brave Little Toaster. We get a really good, like, Tutti Frutti drop in, Brave Little Toaster that I always think.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I
Also, I
don't
think
think
was he in Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme, I
oh,
think,
I don't know.
when I was a small boy?
Uh-huh.
I think that might be right. I think he's in Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme. I don't know if this crowd's gonna let us know if he was in Mother
I
Goose
don't think
Rock and
so.
Rhyme or not. Uh
Mike appreciates the Brave Little Toaster reference, but I don't know about Mother Goose Rock and
Uh,
Rhyme.
well, just like to keep kicking the ball, the blitz ball down the field here, Zed. To plug 30 years greater, the
Oh my
movie
goodness.
podcast I'm doing with Rob, which as you pointed out, and I believe I gave you credit for on the podcast of like Zed was like, how did you guys get from 40 to 30? And I like tried to like get at that last time. We still don't really know. But
I
I
thought I had missed something because you were
no
talking about a movie from the '80s, and then all
no
of a sudden you were talking about all these '90s movies, and I was like, "How
no.
did we get here?"
You didn't miss anything. You missed nothing. The Wikipedia for films in 1993, which is what we're going off of as like a roadmap,
Mhm.
and we're strategically picking from there. There's a Brave Little Toaster 30 year anniversary. It was re-released in 1993 in theaters. Technically
Re-release.
eligible.
Wow.
I don't think we're gonna do it.
That's like a formative movie of my
I
childhood.
love that movie. Blanket,
Mhm.
master, blanket. And the fan, that fan was a jerk. Do you
Yeah,
remember the
man.
fan? The fan with,
The
like, the
fan,
whooping cough?
the vacuum cleaner.
The vacuum cleaner was great. Lamp, love Lamp. But I perhaps no surprise, I was a big radio guy. Loved radio.
Uh-huh,
John
uh-huh.
Lovitz. Yeah. Mike says he can't see Rob watching The Brave Little Toaster. It would be kind of incredible to get Rob talking about The Brave Little Toaster. When is The
I
Brave
think
Little
it's
Toaster?
incredible you've got Rob talking about anything other than Big Brother at
Uh-huh.
this point
Yeah.
in the year.
Free Willy coming up this week.
Oh my
I'm kind of
goodness.
terrified to talk about Free Willy. I believe it's gonna like we're gonna try and like have a fun time, but wasn't it a really sad thing that happened to Keiko the whale, if I'm not mistaken?
I think that's right.
I gotta do my Keiko the whale research before Wednesday. All right, Brave Little Toaster. I promise we'll talk about Final Fantasy in a moment. Brave Little Toaster, September 24th, it was re-released in theaters, the Brave Little
Wow.
Toaster. And this was after having initially that was its six. It's not even what a random re-release. It came out in July 1987, so it was on its 6th year anniversary. It got re-released in
Strange.
theaters. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna
I
talk about
don't
Brave Little
know.
Toaster. I don't think so. Should we talk about Final Fantasy 16?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Okay, let's talk about Final Fantasy 16. Okay. I'm gonna hit record on my side of the video chat, and then this will be a podcast in which we talk about Final Fantasy 16 full spoilers. Everyone here who's in the Twitch has watched you play it all,
Yeah,
right?
I think they know, I think they're
Okay.
prepared.
Be prepared. Anniversary, Lion King, 1994. 2024 is going to be lit. The Lion King
Hell yeah.
episode is coming to 30 years greater. And I believe July of 2024 is when that episode.
Goodness, can't wait.
Yeah, we've programmed out quite a bit. Okay, I think I am set. You good to go?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Final Fantasy 16 is over, and we are just getting started talking about the full spoiler edition of Final Fantasy 16 here on the Final Fantasy podcast on post show recaps. That's right, everybody. This is an all spoiler edition of the Final Fantasy podcast in which anything and everything from Final Fantasy 16 is fair game to discuss. I'm Joshua Wigler here, joined once again on their Twitch stream, I might add, at twitch.tv/Hard Rock Hope. We are recording this one live. The great Brooklyn Zed, who is now on the other side of a battle with Ultima. Of you are the Sid. Look at me, look at me. You are the Sid now, Zed, Brooklyn Sid.
My wounds, boy.
My
Yeah,
full wound.
here we are. Did you miss us? You did. You asked us where we were, and I appreciate that. That made me feel wanted and missed.
We are
And we're
back.
back, and we have
We're back.
so much to talk about.
Yeah, so we're back. Last we left off, I think we got through I don't think we even got all the way through Benedicta. Maybe we did get through Benedicta and then no further than that. And now we're going to talk about everything that happens from Benedicta through the end of Final Fantasy 16 in a single podcast. Not too tall of an order, I don't think.
It's gonna be a lot.
There's a lot. It's a lot. We will probably leave a lot on the cutting room floor. The good news is we will have an additional Final Fantasy podcast coming your way in the not terribly distant future. We're going to record that one live as well. I believe the standing date, though we do not have a time for it yet, August 24th on twitch.tv/Hard Rock Hope on Zed's Twitch. Make sure you subscribe. Check out everything that they are streaming right now. It has been a lot of Final Fantasy 16. It's going to be a bunch of other things. Is it too early to say what your other things that you're going to be streaming are, Zed?
No, I think the folks who care the most already know, but I can happily say up front here, we will be returning to Final Fantasy IX,
Amazing.
which we were, like, I'd say about a maybe a third of the way through when last we left our heroes over in Final Fantasy IX. And then alternating with that continued programming, I am going to play Tears of the Kingdom, my first proper Legend of Zelda game.
You told me this before we hit record, and I was so excited to hear it. This is I am on a 3-week break from the last time I played. I think I logged in once in 3 weeks to Tears of the Kingdom because I've developed quite the problem. It's been an issue. A lot of Tears of the Kingdom have been played. I don't want to look at my clock on the game, but I am sure it is hundreds of hours at this point.
Wow.
And I have like I think four shrines left to find. I have all of the sages. I'm deeply afeared of the underground, so I go nowhere near it. And like I could finish the game, but I'm scared to do it. So I suspect, Zed, that you'll probably on your Twitch stream beat The Legend of Zelda before I do. That's my guess for how this is going to go. Going to be a great hangout game for you in the Twitch crowd. Legend of
Yeah, I'm looking
Zelda.
forward to that.
Yeah,
This game was a lot of digesting, ingesting, a lot of
yeah.
story and a lot of information kind of all the time.
Yeah. There's story to Zelda. It's definitely nowhere near as like super lore packed as 16, and you're not doing like all of these insane dialogue heavy side quests, but you could explore the story of Legend of Zelda in a big way. But it is, I think, and this is not a slight when I say that it is slighter than the story of FF16 for sure. But I think that's going to be a really fun stream game, so people should check that out. Twitch.tv/Hard Rock Hope for more of that content, some more Final Fantasy IX. When we get together for the next podcast, I want to get some early FF9 takes from you. I also want to hear about your journey through Final Fantasy X, which I know you have already underwent, Zed. And I'm sure that there will be FF16 leftovers to get into by then as well. But let's get into as much Final Fantasy 16 today as is humanly possible. I don't think that we should even attempt to do this linearly. I think if we try to do this linearly, we're not going to get anywhere today.
We're gonna be here till next Thursday, if we try to go through this story chronologically.
And we haven't like set up like the appropriate charities with which to do a marathon for. So like I'm not here for that. Like a strategic planned out version of that, sure. But I'm not here to just like keep talking until, a week and a half from us talking right now. So we should talk through what we can talk through today. And I think that for me, the biggest thing that I want to know is just what is your review of Final Fantasy 16, keeping in mind for anyone who's listening that this is full spoilers. Anything from FF16 is fair game for you to discuss at this point in time.
Yeah, we have both finished the game. I much more so than you, given
Yeah,
I texted you the other day and I said, "Do you know what a chronolith trial is?" And you said, "Absolutely not."
absolutely not. I believe was my response. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, I overall, I like the game a lot. I think the chronolith trials are unnecessary, but we'll get to those. I think the structure of having so much access to information and lore and being able to go look up a thing and be like, "What are these people talking about?" Is very helpful because there is so much information being thrown at you all the time. And it is very easy to like glaze over as they're talking about all these things in great depth if you're
Yeah.
not really investing. But if you are, there is so much rich story and character to be found in the game. Um, I told you this as I was finishing up. I do think the game falls apart a little bit at the very end.
Yeah.
Uh, why on earth did we take Dion instead of Jill to the end of the
Because
game?
because Jill's not a character, unfortunately.
Oy.
No real investment in Jill in this game was a big note of mine as well. Like I feel like character design, that's the icon of Shiva. Like this is a really cool character if we invest in Jill, and guess what we don't do? Invest in Jill. I totally agree that I feel like that third spot, that trio of Clive, Joshua, and Jill should be like, if this was a party system Final Fantasy, like that's your final party for sure. Like
Yeah,
Dion, don't get me wrong, like Dion is awesome, great character. Really loved the Bahamut fights. Like I think very imaginative stuff there, and I liked the attempt at giving Dion his own story as well. But like the setup of the game was Clive, Joshua, and Jill, and then Jill just disappears. It's too dangerous, Jill. You
yeah.
can't go here because you're a lady.
Better for just Clive and Joshua to go
Sure,
than for
yeah.
Clive and Joshua and Dion to go.
Yeah.
Why is
Yeah.
Dion there? Because they needed a way to get there.
Yeah, there's a lift. He's the lift. Then just like drop
He's
them off
yeah,
and fly away, and that's it.
wild.
Yeah.
But, like, everybody can fly, as has
Uh-huh.
been well established, in one of my more popular Twitch clips. Everybody can fly except Ifrit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally
Yeah.
everybody.
If Freed being like the icon, like the special icon, it's like he just like there's a fire thing. He gets like he just like spits
So
fireballs, but he
random.
can't fly. He's
He's
not.
also,
He's
like,
like
usually one of the first summons you get and is considered, like,
yeah,
one of the weaker summons
yeah,
compared to everybody else, and they're like,
yeah,
"This is gonna be you. This is your identity."
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I totally agree with that. But I am, I think a lot of the issues that I end up having with Final Fantasy 16 are, I feel like I have no major issue at all with the idea of like you control one character and that's it.
Yeah.
But I think that there was a missed opportunity to not do more of what happens early in the game, where you get to control Joshua for a hot minute. As I was playing the game, had this sort of like percolating theory that Clive was going to die and that you were then going to be Joshua for the duration of the game, or something like that was going to
Mhm.
happen, and sort of like a riff on one of like the core four characters of an earlier Final Fantasy game gets killed, and all of their stats transfer to, I believe, his granddaughter, if I'm not
Uh-huh.
mistaken, or his niece. I don't
Yeah.
remember. And I thought like
Yep.
maybe something like that would happen in the game. I thought that that could have been pretty cool, but like forget that. Like an ability to have like all of these different scenes while like Clive is going off to confront Ultima. You could be playing as Jill somewhere else. You could be playing as Dion somewhere else. I wish that I'd been able to access those characters from that hands-on perspective. I think it would have contributed to a feeling of closeness that is not totally there for me in FF16. That being said, I think these characters, like the character designs, I think like a lot of this for me actually does come from like that character's so cool and I want to jump around as Dion. Like I really want to like be able to
Yeah.
play, like like I do think that there is this feeling that I have while playing 16 where it's like I'm getting to watch the makers of the game play with all these cool toys, and they're like, "You could
Mm.
be Clive." It's like,
Sure.
can I please be Joshua? Like I want to play as Jill. So I mourned that we didn't get to do enough of that, aka
Yeah.
any of that.
I will say though, to have party members that do deal damage and that you are not responsible for the health of is incredible. I'll
Sure.
take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Because having party members that you can't control but do have to keep alive
That's hard.
is a challenge that I encountered in Final Fantasy 15, that I did not like.
Yeah. Did you
It's like,
stream
I can't
15?
pull my friend out of the AoE, and yet it's my problem that he needs to be healed.
Did you stream 15?
I did.
Yeah.
I played Pocket Edition for, I
Yes.
can't remember if we talked about this as we were starting 16. The Pocket Edition is a very different game from what
Totally.
I've been told.
Yeah.
The whole thing, including doing the side quest, took me 20 hours, so I played it in a week.
Yeah, I did
Um,
a very
but
similar
it was
thing.
so fun, very
I
cute.
I really loved 15 Pocket Edition, and I think I have since that I've played all of Remake and 16, and I feel like all of these hours later, like I think I could probably handle the mainline 15. Like that might happen for me someday. Still have to finish 13, so I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Um,
How are you even playing 13?
I have an old Xbox 360
Oh,
collecting
wow.
dust that I could plug back in. If it still works, I hope it works. I haven't plugged it in a while. I assume it's probably still going to work. Could be a
Because
lofty
as
assumption.
Mike will bitterly tell everybody, it's like the one Final Fantasy game that has not been ported
They'll
over
figure
to
that
any
out.
modern
They'll
system.
figure that out. That's gonna happen. It might still take years for it to happen, but it'll happen for sure. That's also because like the graphics on 13 are so pristine that like that was PS3. Like we have not really evolved all that much past that. Is maybe my I don't know if that's a medium warm take or what. But I think that the graphics on 13 are just like way too sublime as to be transportable to the Switch. Like I don't think that you could switch 13.
Sure.
So maybe like you could switch to 13 when the next Switch comes out or whatever it's called. So yeah, so the game loses the plot a little bit for you towards the end, but the ride up to the end, we
Yeah.
enjoyed.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the writing team could have benefited from, it seems like, having any woman in the room, as far
Mhm.
as I could tell. I don't have the exact stats on that, but it sure feels like there
Yeah,
was no woman involved in the writing of this game.
yeah,
Um, and for the most part, actually, I didn't really feel that, and it didn't matter too much. And then there were just occasional moments with Jill where I was like, this makes no sense. Why is this happening? No non-male would let this scene go down the way that it is.
yeah,
Uh, Silently, nudely, back to back on a gravel beach in front of a fire. And then, here you go, have my powers. I don't need them.
yeah.
What could I do? Keep fighting? Of course not.
Yeah.
Rough.
I
That was a
mean,
little rough.
I really kept thinking that they were going to, and especially as as Shiva's keeper, they really could have fridged Jill. And instead, like at least she like
Ha.
transfers the powers over to Clive and gets to live. And that is
And then
such
just,
a
like, kinda
rare
leaves the game for a while,
she's just
for, like, a
gone,
long
basically.
while.
Yeah. Is she
Yeah.
super present in side quests at the end of the game? I think you side quested a whole lot more than I did.
I did every single side quest as it became available. And still when you get to the end of the game, literally at least a dozen, if not more, appear after you've like reached the final point where you have like the Gav store that
Yeah.
means you know you're going to the end of the game.
Right, right, right.
Um and there's one with Joshua, and once you've done that one, he will accompany you on all the side quests. And there's one with Jill, and once you've done that one, she will also come with you on all the side quests. Uh, but do they discuss the story of Jill specifically a whole lot? No, not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like, kind of one moment of them going back home together, essentially. And they're like, ah, yes, this field.
Yeah.
But not a whole lot. After we've gone to the Iron Kingdom and she's killed the like creepy religious man, uh,
That's sort of it.
which we don't especially care about, there is not a whole lot more going on for Jill,
Yeah, I think
unfortunately.
you'd been keeping me posted on your progress through the game, and you were saying like that's like where, and I had to scratch my head and remember
Yeah,
like
you were like, "I don't know who that is."
I don't know who that character is because I guess because you're just about to wipe them off the face of Valisthea, and we'll never see or hear from that person ever again. There's like a couple of things where it's like, does Clive really not have more questions for Joshua about where he's been and why he couldn't write, this entire time? Like, I do
Yeah.
think that there's just like some backstory details that could have been filled in for me, but some of the themes of the game and the world building of the game, I did feel like were so strong that it ultimately really trumped a lot of that stuff for me. And speaking of ultimately, I think Ultima is such a great villain. I think Ultima for me really, really worked. I loved Ultima's vibe. Alien Final Fantasy creature, monster boss, played by Harry Lloyd, who's doing weird things with his voice work. Just the aesthetic of Ultima, I really, really enjoyed. I don't know if this is an unpopular take. I see Mike in the chat does not like Ultima, but the thing that I love about Ultima is that this is sort of a classic Final Fantasy type of boss that usually comes in the last 5% of the game. Ultima shows up like a third of the way through Final Fantasy
Yeah,
16. So
pretty early.
Ultima is a thing the entire time, and then it's Ultima. Ultima is pulling the strings, and you know it. So I really appreciate that. I felt like I had tons of time to acclimate to the idea that Ultima was the boss of this thing.
Yeah, we kind of do away with the, like, secondary villains of Benedicta and Annabella and Kupka, fairly early on, really. We kinda, like, slice through literally a whole lot of mini bosses in the scheme of
Yeah.
the overall story of the game. Um, Mike says, "I felt like he was monotone Sephiroth."
I
I
mean,
will say I think the one challenge
Sephiroth's
is he
Sephiroth's
is
voice acting in
monologue
remake was very
monologue
monotone.
Sephiroth for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
He talks so much, and at
I
the end of the
know.
game, he says the same 2 things 12 different ways over
Yeah,
and over and over again. And I'm like, "Dude, we've already done this boss fight 3 times.
I
Let's
could have sat there and been
finish."
monologued at by Ultima forever. I never wanted Ultima to stop monologuing. I love Ultima. I think Ultima's great. Ultima, like
Um,
Ultima just wanted to be with his people again. I think Ultima was onto something. Ultima was onto something, Zed. Ultima was like, well, this planet doesn't really matter. This is just a farm. You're just a farm for my like god people, and I'm just gonna bring my god people back. You guys don't really matter. Uh, there's a point to be made there, I think.
I
Not
think
a
the thing for
particularly
me
valid.
is that there is so much in the game that feels very grounded and relatable. Like, and I think a lot of we're using up the resource of these mother crystals and the mother crystals are destroying the planet relates very much to like Mako from Final Fantasy VII, and we're using this Mako and it's destroying us and destroying the planet. And that metaphor for like the environmentalism that we are facing
Yeah,
now with climate change, and that getting like distorted into we are in this like weird nether space place that origin and like the edge of infinity and these very abstract ideas uh were harder for me to grasp a little
yeah,
bit, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. I think one of the things that I really ended up loving about 16, and we touched on this even in our earlier shows, was that this is a game that while the action, like the actual combat, is totally different than most Final Fantasies, and the tone of it is uh rated M for mature. Which I think that like as the game goes on, I do think that there are fewer and fewer F bombs along the way. I think they get a lot of it out of their system in like the first third of the game.
Yeah.
And then they're like, come on, guys, grow up. And they clean it up ever so much. But even through all of that, it's very recognizably Final Fantasy. Like the icons, which I want to talk through more. Like they're just like such wonderful versions of the summons along the way, and even the villain of the game coming down to like the most powerful spell you can typically cast in a Final Fantasy game, and that's the namesake.
Right.
I was really enamored of that, and so I felt like the history of the series was worn very well by this game. And I think that like maybe the bar is low for me on Ultima because like the Final Fantasy villains lately maybe have not been phenomenal. So
Mhm.
like Ultima just like kind of for me ends up being pretty high up there of the recent Final Fantasy era. But I think that there is just something where like he is a really good version of the 11th. He's probably like the best version of the 11th hour Final Fantasy villain, which is definitely a type. Like it begins at least if it doesn't begin with Zeromus, you'd have to remind me if there is like an 11th that like Chaos is kind of an 11th hour Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
yeah,
villain.
yeah.
Like these 11th hour Final Fantasy villains, like you can't stack Ultima against Sephiroth or Kefka. It's not a fair fight.
Right.
But like I don't want to say like some of the bosses of some of the Final Fantasies that maybe you haven't played yet, Zed, or haven't encountered, but
There's
like,
not many.
there's it's very tropey and like one of my least favorite things about the Final Fantasy series. So like Ultima ends up showing up so early and has that 11th hour Final Fantasy energy, but feels like you get to spend so much time with that character that I feel like I've got a shape of him. That like I kind of understand where he's coming from. And I really appreciated that energy. And I think like the fact that he's so cold, that he's so robotic, that he's so mechanical about
And,
his
like,
needs and his
wet
wants
for some
and
reason?
and very like let's call him gooey, like oil slicked, just that drip, that Ultima drip. That like I feel like it's in such stark contrast to the fiery humanity of Clive specifically, but Clive and Joshua. And so
Yeah.
like putting those stakes in place of like its humanity versus something truly alien and unfathomable. I think that that worked real well for me.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that, and I think in general, I liked the boss fights in concept and in structure across the game, but I would also say I think they were all too long.
Uh-huh.
Not even too difficult necessarily,
Yeah.
just too long.
Yeah.
They just would go on forever, and you'd get the health bar down, and they'd be like, "Just kidding, new phase, just
Yeah.
kidding, new phase," and I was like, we don't have to do this," and it's
Did you ever
not
do you ever do Dragon Ball Z?
no,
There's
I
a
did
lot
not.
like that. Like a Dragon Ball Z episode would be like, it would basically be a 30-minute episode advancing 5 minutes of a fight forward. And there would be like
Mhm.
10 episodes of this in a row. And so it's like sort of like how like a round of combat in D&D is allegedly like a
I was gonna
10
say, like, my
like
play-by post where we fought, murder flowers for 3 days.
yeah, it's like so like a round of combat is 6 seconds and like a standard combat like maybe doesn't even make it a minute, or if it does, it
Right,
makes it like 2
right.
minutes at most. Like Dragon Ball Z is like a lot like that. And I actually think the Final Fantasy 16 boss fights have that energy. And so it's very anime to me.
Mhm.
Like very anime where like you think this thing is over. It's not. But I do think that there is a repetitive quality to 16 that it annoyed me at first. And then after a while, I kind of really came to appreciate where, like, exactly how a scene is about to go.
Yeah,
Like Clive meets an NPC. The NPC says something to Clive. Clive says something to the NPC. The NPC responds. Clive says, "Well, we're really going to need to talk about that." Fade to black. New angle. We're going to continue the scene somewhere over here. Like this happens
sometime later, yeah,
every single time. Or it's going to be like, okay, I just fought a bunch of people. There's a gate right there and a big space right on the other side of the gate. I know that I'm about to get into another big messy fight with a bunch of people. The boss
right.
fights have a similar rhythm. There's like rhythms to this game where I think because like the combat specifically is so relentless, the fact that you can kind of see where the thing is coming next gives you these opportunities to like press pause and like shake your hands out a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, there were certainly times where I was, like, looking at the map being like, "Hmm, this weird little circle over here sure looks like a place where I'm gonna fight a thing. So let me save my game, let me check my, like, icon loadout, see what I've
Yeah.
got set up, and if this is what I wanna use, as we move forward." Uh, how was the end of the game for you? Having not done all of the side quests, or I imagine much of the hunt board or
I did some
any
hunt board. I did a
okay.
couple of the hunts. I wanted to check out some of the hunts, and I think I like wound up fighting one of the harder hunts by accident.
Mhm.
Um, wasn't all that difficult because I had all my bumpers on. I was like I was bowling with the bumpers on, was how I played Final Fantasy
So
16.
is that is are you still talking about the, like, accessories of timely whatever?
Yes,
Oh,
correct, of
wow.
course, yes.
Okay.
So I intended to play through it again in, the New Game Plus, Final Fantasy mode or whatever eventually, and I still hope to at some point down the line. I have a friend on paternity leave who is currently borrowing my PlayStation 5, so
Ah.
it'll be a minute before I get a chance to do that. So the way that I ended up playing through the game was the way that I started it out, was like, let me do the base coat, let me get the story, let me see how all of this plays out, and as I get better at the game, I'll play through it again with more of a fair shot at fighting some of these things. So like the answer to like how did you find the end of the game? If you mean that as in like was the end of the game challenging for you? Not particularly. Especially because then I did do the side quests where I found out very late in my experience, as you and I covered, how to expand your inventory,
Yeah.
and how to expand the potency of the items in your inventory.
Uh-huh.
But I did go and I did all of that, and so I had as expanded an inventory as I could get, and as potent a lineup of potions and high potions and whatever as I could get. So like I walked into those final boss fights feeling very secure, and having
With that
no
guy who's
trouble.
like, "I could definitely stretch this leather for you," and Clive's like, "You really it's really okay," and he's like, "No, no, no, it will only take me a minute." He's, like, pulling the bag out of Clive's hands, and Clive's like,
Yeah,
I have things to go do, man." And he's like, "No, no,
yeah.
no, just get hang on, hang on."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's as far as like the difficulty level for me, like I'm not the right person to ask. Was the end game very difficult for you? I mean, you always play these
No.
things cards up. So
No, it really wasn't. I think in the final boss fight, I died once, and I can't remember. Oh, and it was in the part of the fight where you're fighting as Ifrit and you're sort of like in nowhere and there's like not really a sense of gravity or distance or scale and
yeah,
like you're always going forward but you're not necessarily getting closer and like avoiding all of these huge pulsing laser attack things was like hard to avoid.
yeah,
I was like, I don't really understand where I am in physical space in relation to the thing that I'm fighting. So
sure,
I don't know how to hit it to make this be over.
yeah,
But other than that one time, most of the boss fights were not that challenging. It was occasionally some of the side stuff, particularly like the hardest. A few of the notorious marks I definitely tried to do too early because they unlock sooner than they should, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
Um, you unlock some of the hardest ones
Right
very
away when
early,
you
and
get the
you're nowhere
board.
near ready.
Yeah,
But you don't know that because the game gave them to you, so you think you should go do it, or I do.
yeah.
And I'm wrong. I shouldn't go do it. I should
Uh-huh.
wait. But I did clear out the hunt board the day that I finished the game, and I loved going and saying hi to Nectar and checking in on his adventures. And
Yeah.
every time he did his little squeaks, it made me
The side
smile.
characters are very fun.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoy the side characters at the Hideaway. I think I've always really enjoyed checking in on Karen. I think like getting the vibes of Karen, even Mid, who I really came to enjoy, but at first felt quite mid about because she shows up on the other side of the death of Sid, which
Yeah.
is a big swing I think this game takes. This game gives you not just like the best character of the game clearly for like the first third in this hugely concentrated way, but like very arguably the greatest of the Sids.
Yeah,
And
I
there's a
think
Sid in
so.
every single
I
Final
think
Fantasy,
so.
and there is a very, very compelling argument that that is like the number one Sid with a bullet.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying not to do the recency bias thing yet, but that's very likely the best Sid.
Listen, he's a revolutionary. He wants to tear down the institutions. He believes in equity and equality and solidarity. He is everything that I want in everything.
He's a
He's not a
dream.
he's not a misogynist.
He's a
We love to see
dream.
it.
He's a dream. And not in like the Final Fantasy X sense of the dream. Like he's a person, he's a human, he's not like a little dream firefly thing. He is a
Yeah.
person who is wonderful and has thoughts about what the world should be. And he stands for something. And he's got an incredible voice and just a great swagger about him. And he's so great. And he's killed a third of the way into the game. And Clive is great, but this is like the man in black calling himself John Locke. Like, you're not Sid. This isn't it. You can't be that guy. And so it took me a long time to get on board with this. It was really hard for me to get on board with the game killing Sid that early and then expecting me to care about a bunch of these other characters and also like being able to tolerate that Clive is the new Sid. And like
Yeah.
everyone's calling him Sid, and there was just very minimal buffer between the death of actual Sid and the rise of new Sid. That was very, very, very difficult. But I think in some ways, I think I appreciate the boldness of the choice. So like this is like very obviously the best character of the game. We're going to kill the character off, and now the stakes are raised of like, well, we if he's dead, we're gonna have to honor what that man stood for. And I
Right.
think that does fuel so much of the rest of the game. But God, I could have done with like 66% more Sid. Like
Yeah.
I really, really
Give
missed
me
him once he was
the
gone.
give me the Crisis Core Sid game, and I'll play
Yes,
it all day, every day. Where
I
is
will.
my Sid hangout game? I want it.
There are a lot of like, I want the DLC. There's a lot. There's a couple like, I want the Sid DLC. I am desperate for a Dion DLC. Like, I want to play
Yeah.
as Dion very, very, very badly. Like, and I think that is a real testament to the world building that they did in the game. That like, you are left feeling like, gosh, I would love to explore more with that person.
Yeah. Dion and Terrence, his
Yeah.
explicitly his lover,
Yep.
Terrence.
Yeah.
Very
It's not meant
exciting.
to be though.
Yeah. But to have a main-ish character who is definitely gay, the word lover is in the
Oh
tomes.
yeah, there's
Like, we
zero
see the
ambiguity. Yeah.
kissing.
This
Um,
isn't this isn't a theory, it's not an
yeah.
interpretation, it is text.
Yeah. That was exciting to see. And we get there's a gay soldier and his boyfriend in Northreach as well that you can kind of check in on,
Yeah.
run past their changing dialogue on occasion.
Yeah.
Um, and they make it through together, which is
Good.
nice. And the
Yeah.
first time we encountered them, shout out to folks in the chat who told me to go find them. I was like, once upon a time, that would have been it as far
Yeah.
as like representation went. And you'd been like, oh my God, if you pay attention, there's a gay soldier over here.
Yeah.
So it is exciting to have a main character, who has plenty of dialogue and scenes and matters and goes to the end of the game,
Goes to
by
the
the
end of the
way.
game. Zed, I mean, we're burying the lead. Bahamut is canonically gay.
Yeah.
Like, is great.
Yep, we love to see it. We get the
Yeah.
dragon. Awesome.
Like,
Wonderful.
it's
All about
wonderful.
it.
Yeah. Dion, I
Yeah.
think, short of Joshua, is my favorite of the game. And I really loved that they gave such a robust story to Dion, getting to like, on the other side of the Bahamut freak out, getting to like watch this man wrestle with the PTSD of what he's done. Totally not, not necessary to the core story, but so additive. I felt like of like the themes of the horror of war and everything, and getting to explore that with like I'm a dragoon man through and through. My
Uh-huh.
early love for Kane like really abides, and so getting that story here, and I think really artfully set up early in the game of like just these random ass dragoons who would come and fight you. And then like you come to like really, really appreciate that one character. Was amazing to have him have the LGBTQ love story on top of that. Like very, very explicitly textually in Final Fantasy was like it felt like extraordinary progress for this series for sure.
Yeah.
Really, really
Nice to have
loved it.
someone, A, not just queer coded, and B, not the villain of the game.
Yes. Yeah.
Both big milestones. Should we talk about the sort of like red wedding moment of the game where Dion kills his father and his brother, and then his mother kills himself
It's
or
hard.
herself?
The whole thing is
It's
like
a
is
lot.
it's so messy. It's so messy. And so like what is it like this little Joffrey turd is like taken over by
Yeah.
Ultima basically?
Olivier, yeah, he's just like a
Olivier.
puppet.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, this game has a few red wedding moments, I feel like.
yeah,
Like they really did like they watched Game of Thrones on a binge and they're like, "Okay, well, how do we do Game of Thrones Final Fantasy? What should we take?" And it's like, "Okay, let's do like the red wedding, but let's do it a million times." Let's like chop off Clive and Joshua's father's head. Let's make Clive spend years thinking that he just like monster mashed Joshua to death. Let's kill Sid. Like Sid's death is like a Ned Stark moment, like in
Yeah.
a real major way. Like there's so many different versions of that, which are like I think like there is a valid argument to being like this feels very iterative, but I for me for whatever reason like you're doing all of these things that I've seen before in the fantasy genre, but there is such like a thick sheen of Final Fantasy painted over
For
all of it that
sure.
I'm delighted. I'm delighted. I have no problem with this.
Yeah, no, I loved it. The biggest thing for me was that I played that specific part of the game, like, one of the most intense hour and a halves of the entire game at night.
Yeah,
After all of my streams being in the afternoon on a weekday, this one day I got home and I was like, "I don't have anything to do tonight. Let's play the game."
let's play the game.
And then an hour and a half before I was gonna go to bed, I watched, like, 4 people die, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is not what I thought I was signing up for at this point in my
the game is
evening."
the game was really dangerous in that way for me too of like okay well it's like late at night, I'm not ready to go to bed yet, I'll play a little bit, and then suddenly it was like 3 a.m. and like the
And suddenly
whole
Hugo
world of the
Kupka
game
has
had
lost
changed.
his hands.
Right, yeah, exactly. Wow, Hugo really goes through it, huh?
Yeah, well, he sucks, but
Yeah.
yeah, oh boy.
My hands, oh my hands. Yeah, he gets double Jamie Lannistered.
And then he's, like, banging them on the wall, and I'm like, "Dude, stop. Stop."
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that.
Yeah.
That was painful. I the Hugo boss fight is insanity to me. The
That's the
bite,
longest one.
yeah, Attack on Titan. Loved it.
Uh-huh.
Loved it. Loved it. The Bahamut fight is also fair. Like the ones that stand out to me the most are probably Titan and Bahamut. I
Yeah,
think are
the
the ones.
Bahamut fight is cool because, like, story is
You're in freaking
happening in a
space.
huge way
Yeah.
as that fight is happening.
Yeah.
That's when Clive and Joshua unite into Ifrit Risen or whatever it's
Yeah.
called. That's really cool to get to see the brothers fighting together, and not to destroy Dion, but to like protect him from himself and the
Yeah.
actions that he's causing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think probably the best piece of the game for me for sure.
Yeah,
And then I think
yeah,
Titan is like a very close second for me as far as like the boss fights go, just because it's so anime. Like this is like the most anime stuff in the game for me is Clive versus Hugo. Like they're in like this huge, vast, empty canyon. No civilians near for them to just go like full Super Saiyan on one another. Utterly madness. I really even though the game gets so rhythmic and kind of repetitive with it, I was both like sort of ultimately comforted by it, but then I would always be so excited when it was starting to happen because I'd be like, I'm about to get Titan powers. I'm about to get Titan powers. Titan powers coming. Bahamut powers coming. And I loved getting to, and I figured this out way too late in playing the game, just how much you could mix and match
yeah,
with different power sets that like you could be like you have the 3 icon slots, but like within that, if you've mastered those skills, like you could slot them into certain icons. So like you could probably have like the power of like 6 different icons active at once. Did you have like go to icon powers, like iconic powers, or did you keep the set fairly versatile?
I mean, I mixed things up a lot. I had Phoenix a lot of the time, mostly because mastering Rising Flames was so expensive, and I needed any options for healing that I could have. That was a big challenge for me early in the game was the lack of flexibility of like
Yeah.
you have 4 potions and that's it. And when they're gone,
Yeah, but
and you
every single
can't
time you'd
do
enter a new room,
anything
you'd get
else
another
about it.
potion. So
Um, Once you get the limit break and that can help heal you and you can unlock rising flames and that can help heal you, I was like, all right, now this is more about resource management than it more so than just don't get hit enough so that your 4 potions will take care of everything.
yeah.
So rising flames was a big one. Lightning Rod, best ability in the game, in
Is that
my humble opinion.
which one is that? I
That's a
don't know that I
Ramu
used it.
one,
Yeah.
and you plant a lightning rod, and then anything that runs into it gets hurt, and if they're close enough, you can hit them with, like, Giga Flare, and it's hitting the lightning rod that's also hitting them, so you're doing, like, double damage. It's a great way to maximize your damage output.
Yeah.
That
I
was,
think
like,
that was
this how I
probably
started a lot of things.
it's probably too complicated for the button mashy way that I played the game. So like the button mashy version of it with the timely accessories on made Bahamut basically unusable. Like running around with the Giga Flare stuff doesn't really track with the way that you play the game with the timely accessories on. The
Hmm.
best timely accessory stuff was Titan for sure. Because Titan just goes and just like smash, 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 smash. It was really great. That like the I don't know the names of any of these things anymore. Like the Garuda Omni Slash or whatever you get from
Mhm.
her. Super, super cool. Once I got the Odin powers, those were active for the
Yeah, those are my
duration
f
of the
those
game.
ended up being my favorite too, I think. And then also Shiva's Diamond Dust and Cold Snap. If you evade with Cold Snap and you time it right, then you permafrost the enemy, so it's, like,
Oh
stuck in
yeah.
place. That was really good. So Shiva tended to stay in the rotation most of the time. So it was usually, Shiva, Odin, and Phoenix, but then with various other but with, like, Giga Flare and
Yeah,
Lightning
yeah, yeah.
Rod in there, and occasionally the other thing. And I also, I did go through and get all the trophies. There's, like, 1 trophy for each of the icons for using certain abilities in a certain way, which was the only time I used Titan stuff for
I
anything.
love Titan stuff.
Um, yeah,
You just like smash, 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 smash. So great.
Mike in the chat said, and then there was Ed's, "I'm not dealing with Titans
I
BS,"
love
which is
Titan. I love Titan.
100%.
Loved it. Loved it.
Just long enough to get the trophy, and that's it.
Were there any are there any bonus icons that we know about, or is every icon in the game like a plot essential icon? I have not looked into this at all. I don't know if there's like any like the Yojimbos out there or anything like
No, as far as I know, it's just those.
the mandatories.
And then while we're talking about them, what exists is the Chronolith trials.
Yeah, what is
A
that?
so
Read me in.
you probably ran across one of the, stones that looks like the one in the hideaway where you can go into the Hall of
Yes.
Virtue and do fights and stuff. There's one of those for each of the icons, and once you get past a certain point in the game, I can't remember what triggers it, you can go activate them, and each of them pertains to a specific icon, and in their trials, you're in, essentially like a training hall kind of environment, and
Okay.
you're getting waves of enemies, and using certain icon abilities will give you more time because you have to accomplish all of the waves with before you run out of time or die because you have no healing either. You do have your limit break bar that will charge, but you don't have any regular healing. And while
Okay.
you're doing each of the icons, you only have the abilities of that icon.
Okay. I didn't do any of that.
Yeah. They're totally they're the least interesting to me because they're
Yeah.
completely plot irrelevant.
Yeah.
It is just go do these
Is this
things,
just like trophy collecting
yeah.
basically? Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and you get 1 trophy for doing 1 trial, but then in order to get all of your little collectibles in Clive's room, the last collectible you get for doing all the Chronolith trials,
Got it. Yeah,
and
I
that's a
didn't
trophy.
I didn't realize until because I was just blitzing through plot that there's
Yeah.
there's so much detail to Clive's room that like you could just like you accumulate stuff that I should have spent more time in my room. What's the coolest stuff in Clive's room?
I mean, it's you get a lot of, like, signs from various, like, inns and pubs in various
Oh
towns that
god,
you've helped.
all of like the what are they called? Like here's my pin. This
The
way every
seals that you get
Ye-
from all of the, like,
this
unofficial mayors of all the
this the
towns.
seals cracked me up every single time. It's like, okay, Clive talking, NPC talking, Clive talking, NPC talking, Clive. Well, we're gonna have to talk about this in a separate scene. Fade to black, new scene. They just moved to the left. Clive talking, NPC talking, Clive talking, NPC talking, NPC telling Clive, oh well, if you're gonna keep going, you're gonna need to wear my seal.
Here's the
Every
crimson
single
color. Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So ridiculous.
But
Uh,
those are not displayed anywhere. I would like to see them all.
that we collected so many of them. What I understand? Did Clive just like throw them out?
I don't
Like,
know,
well,
they're in a
oh,
box
gee,
somewhere.
thanks. So just like put it away in the
Yeah.
trash.
There is one side quest at the end of the game with Torgal, and if you go do Torgal's side quest, he takes you back to, like, this little tree house you hung out in when you were a kid, and you find your
Oh,
wooden training sword, and it like, the scene with Torgal made me emotional. It like, I got teary-eyed
can
because he
you
was like,
like use the wooden training sword? Like, can you
"No,
take
it's
that
just
with
a
you?
collectible that goes in the room
Got
with the
it.
other ones," but the
Imagine if
Torgal's
that was the
like,
best weapon of the game.
yeah, he's, like, pouting, and Karen's like, "You need to go figure out what's going on with your dog because he's sad." And he's, like, hanging out by the dock and, like, looking off into the distance, and Clive's like, "You wanna go home, boy?" And you go back, and Torgal takes you to the treehouse, and you're like, "I have to remember my roots, and you've always believed in me, Torgal," and it's,
Oh
like, so
god.
cute. So cute. Yeah, Torgal was looking for you all along.
Oh,
That's, like, the moral of the is, like, he waited 10 years for you, and he didn't know where you were, and now you're back together, and you'll always be together, except is Clive dead? Is Torgal gonna be waiting for you to come home forever? Because that also made me upset.
so let's talk about the
Yeah.
end of the game. The
Yeah.
end of the game, Clive tells Jill, "Don't worry, Jill. I'll be right back. I can't wait to start our life together, Jill. Don't come into the fight because you're not invited to the fight. I'll just go with the boys. You
You're
stay
not
home,
invited to
and
the
I'll
fight.
return." And Dion dies, and Joshua seems to die, and Ultima for sure dies, and then Clive like gets like blasted off onto the beach, basically. And I forget his exact final line. Do you recall it? It's like are you looking too, Jill?
Yeah,
The
he's like, "Do
star.
you see it too?" As they're, like, looking at the moon or whatever.
So for me, like it certainly felt like Clive just died. Was how I experienced that. I am coming to understand that there's like a big movement of Clive didn't die. That wasn't Clive. So I didn't read any ambiguity into the ending, but I haven't revisited it at all. What are you encountering as far as the ending goes? Do you have a read of the ending?
So I am big on if you don't see the dead body, you cannot guarantee that the person is dead. And I
Right.
was right about Joshua. I said from the beginning, I was like, I don't buy it yet. I'm not, we didn't
Yeah.
see a dead Joshua, so I'm not in it. Um, we see Clive magically, mysteriously washed up on the shore from this nebulous place that he only got to by flying on Bahamut. Uh, Somehow he's back in our world,
Yeah.
with like crystal curse fingers, but just some fingers.
Just some
Uh,
fingers. Yeah.
we've seen people make it through worse for longer. I feel like, so we don't know. Is my opinion.
Okay.
Um, there's the discussion of the post. Did you watch the post credit
Yeah,
scene?
so it
Okay,
takes place at some point in the future. A couple of
yeah,
kids are horsing around, and there's a book called Final Fantasy written by Joshua Rossfield.
right.
Yeah.
So there is fan theory that possibly Clive wrote that book under Joshua's name.
Uh-huh.
There's also the theory
Clive
that
has a thing of stealing people's identities, so
well, I think the Sid
would
one
work.
was sort of like foisted upon him whether he wanted it or not.
Yeah, but then he also, like, he steals, Titan powers, he steals Garuda powers, like, Clive is just taking everything that's unique about all these people left
Yeah.
and
Well,
right.
I don't think he took Garuda's powers on
Uh-huh.
purpose. I think that one just kind of happened and then he was
Sure.
like, "Oh,
Bad example, but then
powers have
he's
awakened. I
yeah,
can
then
do
he's
a
just gonna
thing."
yoink him. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also the theory that the Undying, who are this like weird, mysterious religious order that are devoted to protecting the Phoenix, may have written the story of the Phoenix, Joshua,
Yeah.
for the people.
Josh was
Um,
probably dead.
I that one feels pretty
Yeah.
concretely for sure. Yeah.
That's all right. At least he didn't die the first time. He grew up to be quite the respectable young man.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my baby boy.
And Clive managed to clean the blood off of his mouth before he, this poor
Yeah,
kid and his consumption,
yeah,
dying
yeah.
of tuberculosis.
Yeah, I think if, like, the thing is like, "Well, but he's got the crystalline, hand now. Oh, he's dead." It's like, well, he's probably, like, another Final Fantasy thing of, like, the slow transformation into, like, you've got, like, the stone condition and, like, you're slowly
Right.
turning into a statue, but, like, in 16, like, this is, like, a real slow play, so it's not like he has that and he'll die tomorrow necessarily,
Yeah.
so if that's it, like, I could see the world in which Clive gets up and moves on after the end of the game. I guess I don't understand why they would leave it so nebulous. I didn't mind it at all, and
Yeah.
I love hearing that people are like really have a lot of different theories about it. I mean, if they're gonna do like a Final Fantasy 16 2, or like certain DLCs and stuff, I expect that they will clarify this at some point.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I wondered is, like, what is the goal of an ambiguous ending if this is a finite contained story?
I guess like the legend of Sid continues, right? Like the Sid
Mhm.
legend,
Sid
like
will return in
yeah,
Final
yeah,
Fantasy
right.
17. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like there's something to that, I think, that in the way that like Sid died and Clive carries the torch, either Clive dies and other people carry the torch, or like Clive doesn't die, but we're not going to get to see anything more with him moving forward, theoretically anyway, and so he kind of lives on in legend with us. So I think like not knowing with full conclusive clarity what happens to the character sort of achieves that end.
Yeah. Jill somehow seeing like a red blinking dot in the sky seems to have decided that Clive
So
is dead.
the red blinking dot in the sky, the side quests illuminate what that is, I think,
Nope.
or the active lore. No,
Not that I clocked, no.
I kept waiting the entire game. Like the first time you see it in like a Clive flashback, you're like, okay, well, I've played enough Final Fantasies to know that I'm going there. Like I'll go there before this thing is done. We didn't go there. I was very surprised by this.
No.
So you having explored almost every nook and cranny of this game, not every nook and cranny, John, uh, you did not find out anything more about Red Dot?
No. Mike in the chat says it was a wishing star from when they were kids, but there's no real lore.
That's
I don't
it?
uh, it certainly didn't mean anything specific to me. And
That feels unbelievable to me.
I didn't see anything that Jill could see that would indicate, well, Clive is definitely dead.
Yeah.
But she and Torgal sure are sad together.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so she at least seems to think that Clive is dead. It's a fairly unhappy ending, even in its ambiguity, I think.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, so Clive lives and Clive makes his way back. Jill and Torgal probably spent a cool 48 hours easily thinking he was dead. That's
It's a lot less
brutal.
than 10 years.
I guess. Yeah, I suppose. I
Send a
guess.
Stolas, Clive.
Yeah. Uh, Sign or no? I hope. You know what? If the theory is out there that Clive is still alive, I choose to believe it. I'll sign on to it. Clive is still alive. I unfortunately think Joshua was like for sure toast.
Yeah, Joshua's definitely done.
Dion also probably completely dead.
Sure
Don't
seemed
think
like
there's a
it.
lot of ambiguity for Dion. So I hope Terrence is able to find his happily ever after. He
Mm.
was like, "Don't send me away. Come on, let me be endgame."
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
think? Give me some Gav takes. You got takes on Gav?
Oh my goodness, what a guy. What a guy.
It was
Karen's
really my
grandson?
headcanon. It was really my headcanon that Gav and Clive were like secretly deeply in love with one another.
I mean, Gav is certainly secretly deeply in love with Clive. I
Yeah.
don't I don't think the feeling is
Clive,
mutual.
Clive, like immediately, like Clive meets Gav. It's like, oh, Gav, what would I do without you? Like immediately, like there's this connection though. It's like this really powerful connection between Clive and Gav. It was great.
Yeah, no, he's incredible, always showing up at the right moments, sometimes at the wrong moments, interrupting a potential kiss
Yeah,
between Jill and Clive fairly
yeah,
early in the game,
yes.
which is like classic, underdog love
Uh
story.
huh. Yeah. In
The
playing
medicine girl.
in playing
Ethiopia in
all
the
of the
chat
side
brings up the
quests
medicine girl. Yeah.
in playing all of the side quests, did any of them explain, why Gav is missing the 2 ponytails that would make the 3 make more spatial sense?
No.
Okay.
No,
I was really
weirdly,
hoping.
his hair never got fully addressed.
That's okay.
Um,
Wait,
Other
Medicine
things that
Girl. Tell me about
yeah.
Medicine Girl.
What is the deal with Medicine Girl? So we
Uh-huh.
see her a handful of times.
Yeah.
We see her at the very beginning, or not the very beginning, but fairly early on,
Yeah.
hawking her poultices. And Jill's like, "We don't have any money," and she's like, "Well, then screw you, lady. Bye. I gotta go. I have a business to run."
Yeah.
Um, and we see her kind of randomly a couple other times, and it's never really explained why. And then she saves Dion and she gets a name that I can't remember. And she's in Vivian's like social network map
Right.
as medicine girl from very early on. And I was like, why is she so important? And I still don't really know.
Yeah. Okay, so they never really told us anything about Medicine Girl. I have very few memories of Medicine Girl. I only remember Medicine Girl helping out Dion. I think maybe was Medicine Girl under threat when like the big Bahamut fights were happening. Didn't something traumatic happen to Medicine Girl or around Medicine Girl?
I mean, she found him
Yeah.
after that big fight, so she had to be nearby,
Yeah.
but we had seen her in, like, a couple other unrelated places.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Kyle or Keel, Kihel is her name.
Okay. Keel.
Mhm.
I got a hot take, I think. You ready?
Yeah.
Miss Me with Barnabas. Miss Me
Yeah,
with
he didn't
Barnabas.
really do anything for me either.
Barnabas added nothing. The whole Walud storyline adds nothing to me. Just kill Barnabas and give me Odin quickly. I want nothing. I'm good. I need nothing on Barnabas. By the time that like the game is shifting, like, all right, well now we're gonna have to go and deal with the Walud stuff. It's like, do we have to? Can we just get to like? Can we just get on board with like it's all about Ultima now?
Yeah,
Like
just, like,
this,
leave them over there on their separate continent minding
like
their business.
who is Barnabas's toady again? Who is secretly like 1,000 toadies? I forget the name of that character, the armored guy who's like Ferdinand or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like 1,000 Ferdinands. It's like okay, so it's just like this is all just like Ultima puppetry, and I don't need any of it. Just get me to Ultima. I'm done. Barnabas, like, oh, give yourself over to Ultima. It's gonna be so cool. You're gonna like forget it. Like you just showed up, man. Like I've been in this for a minute, and you
Right.
don't get to just like show up here. Like you're the 11th hour bad guy. Get me to the 11th hour bad guy who showed up 5 hours early. Like I want to go to him. You should have been here 5 hours ago. Ultima got here. Your seat at the table is done. I want nothing to do with you. I did not care for Barnabas. I feel like
Yeah.
Barnabas is one of those characters, but oh, Barnabas is like a really deep bad guy, or like my complicated bad boy. No, I'm out. No Barnabas for me. Hate him.
Just, just so that they could have their White Walkers, their
Yeah,
Akashic all over the place. That's really what it was
sure.
for.
Yeah, I guess that's it. But like, I don't know. You could have just explained that with Ultima. I don't need another guy
Yeah,
here
yeah. It did
showing up.
feel like they overcomplicated things sometimes just to make them complicated, in a way that was, even with the lore,
Yeah,
difficult to follow.
there's got to be like a faster, leaner path to getting Odin than having to go through all the Walud stuff. The Walood stuff, I think, was my least favorite part of the game because at that point, I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm getting close to ready to just like confront the finale. Uh,
Yeah.
so I feel
We're
like
just, like, chasing Ultima across the continents for
I don't
no
need it.
particular reason.
I don't need it. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to check in with you. When did you get the chocobo early on?
Mhm.
I got that when I realized I should have gotten them earlier, around the
Uh-huh.
same time that I needed to expand my potion. So I just ran around on the map the whole time. Were you chocoboing on the map for the majority of the
Yeah.
game? That
A
must have been
decent
so much
amount,
faster.
largely because you can run past random encounters, which is great, but if you're on the chocobo, you don't even slow down when you're
Yeah,
running. Whereas if you're running on foot, the game is like, "Are you gonna fight?" And you slow down to, like, a jog, and you have to run long enough to get out of it.
yeah.
But yeah, Ambrosia, the beautiful white
Ambrosia.
chocobo.
Ambrosia. Yeah, that's right. Was it the white ghost or whatever they called her?
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah, when I got, the chocobo and I did the chocobo side quest, and it was right before the end of the game, and then I started, like, riding around on the open fields with I was like, I can't believe that I've played this whole game just like on foot. Uh,
Yeah. There's a handful of times that I was doing side quests and I was like, imagine this not being part of your experience of the
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Like
Give me
there's
some
more
examples.
there is some stuff that goes, like, into Clive and Jill's romance a little bit more. There's one you do for Karen, I think, or Karen is involved, um, where she, stabs a guy in the eye because he
Sweet.
previously, like, took her eye. Um,
Eye
so
for
you
an
find
eye.
out yeah, like, you find out there's, like, 4 quests you can do for Blackthorn,
Uh huh.
with his because his
Sad sack
friend
Blackthorn.
yeah, they're called, like, Blacksmith Blues.
Yeah, because I
Um,
did that one because I think it's necessary for the inventory. It was like, oh, all right, fine. You got me
yeah,
talking.
with
I
his
bet
buddy
it.
August, who's like, "I think Blackthorn is sad, and
He's
I
like
think he
he's
doesn't wanna
sad,
talk to me,
and it
but,
was
like,
like
he might
literally
talk to
like
you."
it was literally like there's a guy who's better at this than me.
Yeah,
I'm upset about it. It's like, all right, well, that happens. Just don't worry about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Blackthorn. You got upset about stuff.
There's a lot of
There's no way that Clive and Jill weren't doing it in those 5 years, by the way. I just refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe that their first kiss is like 5 minutes before the end of the game. No
uh
chance. No way. Absolutely not.
yeah. Well, they were naked together on that beach.
They had been naked together on beaches before. I
Yeah,
refuse to
that's
believe that
not
that's the
where that
first time.
happens for the first
I
time.
don't believe that that's the first time the two of them are naked on like naked shoulder blading each other. Like I
Ugh,
feel like that's happened earlier in their lives.
yeah.
And there was
Yeah,
a whole 5 year time jump. There's something, and they were not separated the entire time. Things happened in the 5 year time jump. I refuse to believe otherwise.
yeah. It is of note how much time this game covers and
A
how it
lot.
is, like, grounded in a year in the world of the game, and that you span, what, like, 15 years or something over
Yeah.
the main story of the game. And the constant and, like, being able to go to Vivian and look at where all the troops are moving around and what powers are trying to do what at various times is really helpful. And that it isn't just what is the current situation, but that you can look at how you got there is really cool.
Yeah. No airship, huh?
No, okay, so this is one more thing from a
Really
side
thought we were
quest.
getting an airship. Really thought it was going to come.
Mid was working on it,
Yeah.
and then this is nuts. You're helping her get her stuff to build her airship, and then she's like, "Magic killed my dad. This is a bad idea. I'm gonna finish inventing it, and then I'm gonna bury my schematics." So that maybe someday someone will find them, and like, there's no logic.
Hmm.
No logic to it whatsoever.
I think the fallen technology generally, the first time the fallen thing like really spikes when like you're going into the place underneath the Phoenix Gate,
Mhm.
and like suddenly all these like mechanical creatures are whirring to life. It's like, whoa,
Yeah, the little stone
okay,
guys,
this
yeah.
game just took a turn. And I kept feeling like some sort of like major reveal of like there is modern future tech happening in the world, like, and it never really went there. So
No,
there was
there's
like a
just some guys running around with lightsabers for some reason.
really cool setup there that didn't fully get capitalized on, I thought. But I kept thinking like, oh man, like the first, like the I remember that was one of those I'm up until 3 a.m. nights. Like, oh my god, like this is insane. Like the little things with like they look like killer like Evas from Wally. Like this is nuts. And it didn't really go anywhere. And so like I felt like it was at least going to bring us to like some sort of major alienish spaceship airship deal, and we didn't get anything like that. We just got a boat.
Yeah, the Enterprise, another
Yeah.
Enterprise of which there are
Always an
many.
enterprise. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really, really, really fun game. Like, there's definitely things that you can knock against it, but I thought it was a real joy to play through. It was I think that the world is really immersive. I do think even with my rails up, the combat was super fun. Oh, Zed, as a combat master,
Mhm.
and weapons expert, can you does Clive having the sword where he has the sword, does that make sense?
There's definitely a decent number of times where he's, like, leaning against things or quasi sitting down, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Not with a 3-foot long piece of steel against your back." Does
I
that make
just feel like it
sense?
would be hard to, like, pull it out from, like, there, like, I feel like you want it, like, further in, I don't know.
Yeah, he has it mounted more like he would be fighting left-handed because he has it over his right shoulder.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
pull it out
Not
right-handed
without
from
throwing
behind
your
you.
back out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, Cloud's running around with a sword just magically attached to his back with
This is
nothing.
yeah, and that
So,
sword is humongous. This is not the time to start being like, "That's not real. That's
at
not
least at
realistic."
least Clive's sword is, like, in a sheath attached to
Yeah,
his body with, like,
sure.
straps and things.
That's fair. Remake Cloud's sword is attached to something. I don't know
Sure.
what, but, it's attached to
But,
something.
Aerith's
Yeah.
still got her scepters and her
Yeah.
rods just appearing out of
Yeah, they just show
nowhere.
up. They just show up. They just show up. Magic and such.
Uh-huh.
Um, anyway, we'll be back in a couple, like a week and a half or so. We have more Final Fantasy to discuss. I want to get into some of 9 with you. I really want to hear about your tales of 10. I really want to hear a lot more about how you experienced Final Fantasy 10. And if we've got lingering FF16 material to cover, we will do so there as well. If there's anything we didn't talk about from the game that you want to hear Zed and I talk about, you can hit us up in all of the various ways that you can find us on all of the various different platforms that exist at Round Howard. That's me at Hard Rock Hope. That's Zed. You can find them and watch them streaming video games, twitch.tv/Hard Rock Hope. You should check all that out. Tears of the Kingdom, I cannot wait. When are you starting Tears of the Kingdom?
Probably in September. So
Okay.
as folks on the Twitch know, after today, I am on a week-long break as I go do a stage combat workshop and go
Yeah.
fight with some real swords not attached to my back by
Yeah.
magic.
That we
And
know of.
then we will reconvene next week to talk about the 17 other Final Fantasy games I've played since the last we were
Yes.
regularly podcasting together. Uh, and then I am unemployed after Labor Day, at which point I think I will have more time to devote to focusing on a brand new game and franchise. So 9 will pick back up next week, and then Tears of the Kingdom will slot in September.
I'm very excited for both of these journeys for you. 9, I'm really excited for you to like dive back into, but I think you're gonna have so much fun playing Tears of the Kingdom. Also, you're gonna be deeply frustrated at multiple points. Uh, like you're gonna fall off of things. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be very
Well, that's why I never got anywhere in Breath of the Wild because I
yeah.
couldn't get out of the initial place because I kept falling into lakes and
Oh
freezing to
gosh.
death.
Oh yeah. What's great is that you're gonna fall so much further in Tears of the Kingdom. The heights are vast and enormous and many and wonderful. Great, great, great times are ahead. I think you will really enjoy that.
Oh
So
boy.
check that out in September and come back next week for more Final Fantasy content here on post show recaps and twitch.tv/Hard Rock Hope. But until then, we say, didn't I have like some sort of F off for this? FF off?
FF
That works.
off.
FF off. That
Stuck
works.
the landing.
Huzzah!
Yeah,
That's it. That's the game. The
that's the
broadcast
game.
has ended.
Yes.
Yeah, we should hear from the folks what they want to hear on the next one.
Yeah,
Send
friends. So if you're in the
send us
chat and you
feedback.
have thoughts, if there are things we missed that you want us to talk about, let us know. We didn't talk about Torgal being a magic boy.
Oh,
Uh,
sure. Jot that down. Torgal being a
yeah.
magic boy. I want to make sure
Frost
we get
Wolf
into.
Torgal.
Yeah. It's been so long. For me, it's been like, gosh,
Yeah.
almost 2 months since I've played now. So some of this is not super fresh for me
Yeah, because
anymore. So I'll need a
you had
refresher.
just about finished the game when I started, and it
Correct.
took me like 7 weeks
My goal
to
had
play the whole
been to
thing.
finish the game before we did the launch pod, and I think
Right.
I, thought that I was gonna do it, and then I think I found out that I had, like, the rest of those Ultima fights still ahead
Yeah.
of me. So I was like, "Oh, no, I am not gonna be able to finish this today." But I was basically done. Yeah, yeah. So it's been a while, and so all of, like, the video game brain space I have has been, Tears of the Kingdom, though I am slowly starting to play Persona 3
Mm.
on the Switch. Um, very slowly though. Very, 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 very slowly. It's like a real I mean, it was for I don't know, I think that it existed before the PSP, but there was, like, the PSP version that people loved, and that version, Persona 3 Portable, is on Switch, and it's like it feels like an old at least so far, it feels like an old PC game,
Mm.
like, almost point and click. Um, Totally my jam. Love that speed. I
I
used
was
to
gonna say very your speed, yeah.
I love the point and click. Return to Zork. Loved that. The Monkey Island games, a Telltale game, and this like kind of feels like Persona meets that. So I think there are people out there who enjoy the Persona. So I'm playing that right now. Dave says, "Would you all want DLC? If so, what would you want?" Let's add
We'll
that
talk
to the
about that
list.
next week, yeah.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
have a thread in the Discord, and Mike, my publicist slash
Yeah,
secretary,
yeah,
apparently, is
yeah.
taking notes and
Copious
posting
notes.
them,
Great,
for me to keep track for next
great,
week.
great, great. We're gonna need all
If
that.
any of you are in the chat and would like to be in the Discord, I just dropped the link into the chat.
There you go. And no
Um,
one's remarking on my cloud strife over my shoulder now? No
yeah,
one
little
wants to
cloud
say
stripe.
anything about my little cloud on oh, I gotta move this way. He's riding on Red 13. He's
Oh,
hanging out
let
with
me
Lynn.
show you something my partner got me that I need
Yes,
to hang
please.
up right here. Give me just a second.
Please. Please show me the stuff. I wanna see the things. Oh, also I have, what do I have? You see I've got Jesse on a motorcycle in the background. Oh, Mike, you noticed. Good. What else? I have some toys right in front of me. I've got a Ganon. I've got these are amiibos actually, so I can get some stuff out of them on the game. This is
Oh,
a Link, and then I have a cute little Reno.
oh my god, look at
Look at
him.
this tiny, tiny baby Reno I have on my laptop in front of me. All right, what did you get?
My partner got me this by an artist that they
Oh
love.
no! My baby boy. That's my
Yeah,
son.
little
That is my
cutie
son. Oh my
with a little
god.
moogle.
Ah, that's my
There's a really
child.
cool, like, aggressive chocobo one too,
Yeah.
that was, like, more my vibe, but of course I love Moogles, and
Uh,
they were out of the chocobo one at the time, but, hopefully eventually I will have a pair of the prints,
all right.
uh,
Well, can you
and we
put
will
that
put
up
them up right
on
back
yeah,
here.
put that up on the background before the next podcast so that we can talk about it and talk about Vivi.
Okay.
Vivi Vivi is an all-timer for me,
Yeah.
across all forms of media, let alone
"Oh,
Final
I fell
Fantasy.
down. Oh, wait for me.
Sweet, sweet boy. S
I'm 9."
Sweet, sweet summer child Vivi.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying as I play the game, just to remind everybody. Anytime Vivi says anything ridiculous, I just go, "I'm 9."
So the way he talks to adults is so great.
He's
He's
a
so g
baby.
he is a baby, but he's, like, got the soul of, like, an adult, like, he's got such
Yeah.
great manners.
Yep.
Uh, kind little soul.
So good.
I love Vivi. How far in 9 are you right now?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Yeah,
Zidane, you like girls?
yeah. I'm
Said, "I'm
9.
9."
I'm 9. Yeah, that's fair.
Zidane's like, "Yeah, you do. Okay, I see you. You'll
Yeah,
get there. I see you."
yeah, yeah. You don't know where you are in the game right now. Does
Oh,
anyone in
I
the
don't
chat know where Zed
remember.
is
We made it,
in 9?
uh
Queen as the legend of FF Queen I love Queena. I love Queena Quinn. I love Queena.
non-binary icon.
I love Queena. Queena's
Not too
great.
far after leaving the fight. Oh, yeah, with Beatrix in Alexandria. We fought Beatrix, I think, all the times that we're gonna fight Beatrix.
Oh, so you're pretty deep
The,
or
like,
relatively, right? Like,
the 3
you're
times
like
or
disc
whatever.
2-ish.
We're in disc 2, yes,
Yeah.
that I know for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, are you I'm trying to figure out how to ask this. Um, have
About
you seen
halfway through disc 2, Mike says.
have you seen any weddings? Okay,
Not
that is a for sure confirmation that you haven't. Yeah, great,
they
cool.
haven't.
Okay, great, great, cool. Looking forward to that.
Lindblum. Did we go I think I got to Lindblum. Oh, and Fossil Roo, 'cause the Gargants, I remember the
Sure.
Gargants.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we haven't done, like, the big maze of Gargants and levers yet that I remember from my first time playing the game,
Oh,
but we're,
yeah, I
like,
hate that
close to
stuff. I
there.
really do. I think the Gargants are weird, and I don't like that I have to ring a bell and feed them herbs and then get
Yeah.
on their backs and in their baskets to take me to places. Those kinds of levels, I always hate in a game.
And I had the challenge of notoriously having given back the PS1 and the initial disc to my
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah.
So then I could only play save files that were at least in disc 2, and one of them was in that place, and I was like,
Yeah.
in no world am I ever getting out of here. It's
Yeah.
impossible."
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like it. Uh, but I love 9. I get this, like, siren song to play 9, like, every 2 years or so. Like, I just have to,
Mhm.
like, speed through it just because I love that world so much. I think the
It's
last time
great,
I
it's
played it
great.
was, like, 21, so it could be coming soon. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a
we don't
great
have the
game.
Eidolons yet, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Um,
I play the game, the card game on occasion.
Tetramaster?
Yeah, I
Not as
understand it
not
a
as not as
little
not as
better
good
than
as the
Triple
FF8
Triad,
one. Triple Triad, I think, is better. I like Triple Triad more.
but sometimes I think I'm gonna win and I still don't, and I'm just like, "Alright, whatever, we'll put some cards down."
No, but you're investing in your future 'cause, Tetramaster, I believe, is mandatory in the game at a certain point, like, you have
At a
to do
couple
it.
of points, I think folks have said, yeah, a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, which I think is frustrating, but I think that you can whatever, I don't wanna talk about it. Anyway,
We'll get back to it.
get back
I
up.
think I will have picked it up before we pod next
Okay,
week, so I should
cool.
be back in it
That'll be great, so it'll be
and know
fresh, and we'll
what's
talk
going
about
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
cool, nice, fun, fun, fun.
that's the goal.
Um,
So,
well, thanks everyone for your patience. I hope that the podcast was fun and worth it, and appreciate everybody being cool and kind. And the next one, I'm really, really excited for because I
be
don't think I've
all over the
you, you
place.
and I have not really talked about your experience with 10. I just know that you didn't have a great time. So I really
No, I
want to. I want to know more
didn't.
about why. I really want to know more about why.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I
Um,
know a lot of people love it. That one was not for me.
Ah man, I really I do have a soft spot for 10. I think 10 is
Yeah, we'll talk
10 is
about 9, 10, and 15,
okay, cool.
and,
15,
anything
you're gonna have to fill
lingering.
me in because
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about I played Pocket Edition, and that went, like, in and out of my brain very quickly.
Yeah, well,
But my
it's such a blip on the radar because it only took me a week, and in contrasting with
totally.
spending 2 months playing this
It
game.
goes so fast, but, like, my
Yeah.
abiding feeling is that I had a great time doing it. Like, I had a
Yeah,
really
just
fun
hanging
time.
out with the boys.
Totally, love the boys.
It's a vibes game. It's
It's a
absolute
vibes
I
game.
mean, Pocket Edition, at least, is certainly just like
Final Fantasy does a bachelor party is the
yeah,
game.
it's
Like,
great. It's
that's
so
it. It's
great.
like, "Oh, our boy's getting married. We gotta hit the road one last time with the
That
crew."
stupid car.
I
Yeah.
know, they're dumb fucking car. It's great.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Alright, well, next week will be super fun.
Cool.
Folks, keep an eye out. We will let you know what time for sure,
Yeah,
but
I'm
Thursday
waiting to, like,
afternoon on the
schedule
24th
a thing,
is
but
the
I think
plan.
yeah, I think we're looking at the afternoon and, like, it might just shift, so just check, like, Zed's Discord, all the stuff closer to we'll figure out the exact time. It looks like 2 o'clock on the Thursday, but it not for sure.
Yeah.
Could change, but that's what we're aiming for right now.
Yep. So we will
Cool.
be back to talk about that. It is Monday. I don't think I'm going to stream tomorrow, folks. I might, but it is unlikely as I prepare for my several days of sword fighting. And then I will be back.
How
If I'm
long
not
is
with
the
you
sword
tomorrow,
fighting stuff?
it's Thursday to Sunday down at Brooklyn College. So I just bike down there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's, I'm part of the assistant staff. So I get there early and I leave late. So they're like 10-hour
Yeah.
days
Oh boy.
in hot gyms with
Yeah.
heavy weapons. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
lot. It takes a lot
I believe
out
that.
of you.
I believe that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
But that's
Well,
what's up. So we'll see you all next week. Thank you for hanging out. Take care, everybody. Bye.
aw.